mic check, please.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ducks Unlimited podcast. I'm your host, Chris Jennings.
I'm your host, Dr. Mike Brazier.
My name is John Gordon. I'll be your host.
And I'm your host, Katie Burke.
Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America. The DU Podcast, sponsored by Purina Pro Plan, the official performance dog food of Ducks Unlimited. Purina Pro Plan, always advancing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Ducks Unlimited podcast. I'm your host, John Gordon. I've got a special guest today, and I think one that people will really enjoy and can relate to, because this man, his life really revolves around the outdoors, but it also revolves around great food. And who can't appreciate the combination of the two? His innovations with wild game and farm-to-table cooking are, at this point, legendary in my mind. But, just because I've been fortunate enough to go down there and enjoy a lot of his food. But anyway, Rick Rosser, welcome to the DU Podcast.
Thank you. It's all lies. I promise. None of it's true.
Oh, it's true, people. Let me tell you. Rick is the chef at Spread Oaks Ranch. It's a place that we've been fortunate enough to film both Ducks Unlimited Television and DU Nation and DU Films with Rick. As a matter of fact, you can go right now to YouTube or the DU website and look for the Chef Rick film that we filmed. What was that, Rick? 2020? Was that right in the middle of COVID, I believe?
I don't know, but it deserves an Oscar. I know that. It was amazing. It was amazing. You're missing out if you haven't seen it. I know that.
Well, that's it. And if you just Google Chef Rick Rosser, it comes right up as one of the first things on the page. I did that yesterday, doing a little research here for this podcast.
You'll be 1% smarter by watching that. I promise.
Maybe 2. I'm gonna give it 2%.
Don't over deliver.
So, Rick, you've been a chef for what? It's over 3 decades. Am I correct?
Yeah, that hurts, but it hurt this year to be able to say that. My wife pointed that out. I'm hung up at I've been in the business 23 years, 6 years ago.
That's right.
So. Yeah, 30 years this year. It's been a long and joyous and tumultuous journey. I'll tell you that.
Well, it's got to be, and we talked about this when we were down there. If you choose that path in life to be a chef, right? If you're really going to be great at it, the level of commitment to it, to me, is astounding. Because starting out young, what are the hours like, Rick? Just give me an idea of what it takes to become an executive chef and really push through that grind.
I think it's just that. It's being able to push through the grind. We're all just cooks and dishwashers at the end. I don't care what you say. We dirty a dish, and you should be respectful enough to be able to clean the dish. Being humble. There's quotes that we're all just emotional, narcissistic dweebs running around the kitchen, and sometimes we are. But I think the longevity of the chef matters. The chefs that come in and go, or they're just that. They come and go. With anything that you want to be good at, you have to stick with it. The thought process that I was 19 years old when I started cooking in fine dining. My wife jokes that she said when we met, I was in culinary school, young chef. And I didn't hunt for 6 years. So the first 6 years of dating my wife and then marrying my wife, she didn't know I hunted. Or, we just didn't hunt because I was working all the time. And then we had kids and got the kids involved in hunting. She jokes, she was like, had I known, there would have been a lot more questions involved, Right. So it's quite comical. The hunting is taken over so much. It started as, if you don't mind me telling a story. So I think cooking in the wild for me started when I was taking my kids duck hunting, because I'm not saying I was poor, but I had 2 sons. They eat like horses. So I would go duck hunt with them. And then because I was a chef, I always had leftovers from parties. So I could pull out a wok and a hot fire real quick over propane, and I could cook eggs, bacon, and I could have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old fed back in the car asleep, driving back to Katy. And I didn't spend any money, and they picked up all my decoys. I really think cooking out in the duck fields started a whole different genre of cooking for me as a chef too. I think that sounds pretty weird, but it just did something differently.
Right. No, it's not. The duck blind breakfast has become a thing. I've hunted in several locations where they've had, some of these giant blinds with full kitchens in there, and they've got somebody preparing food. That's just really a big part of the hunt. So I think that's really it's taken a big step forward to the honey bun and crackers type deal that you grew up when you were a kid.
Yeah.
It's really come a long way since then. So let's just go back in time a little bit, Rick, and we'll talk a little bit about how you grew up and your background. I know you're from Aggie land, Bryan, Texas. Am I correct?
Absolutely, gig 'em.
That's right. Texas folks are pretty divided between the hook 'em horn and the gig 'em people. It's it's really kind of divided into those schools. Although there's a lot of colleges in Texas, but that seems to be the two dominant ones. But
I joke, I'm the one in my family that got away. I didn't go. I didn't pick either.
Right.
I'm like, ooh,
right.
I'm out. There's enough of y'all.
So anyway, you're growing up in Bryan. You started hunting with your father. How did it all come about?
We bow hunted, and then when duck season started, we duck hunted on the Trinity River with some friends of ours, and then that's where we really started duck hunting, and then took time off. Really, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't duck hunt for probably 15 years, and then my oldest started shooting skeet with 4-H competitively. And when we moved to Houston, some guys found out that my son shot skeet, and they were like, "Hey, do you duck hunt?" And I responded with, "Yeah, I duck hunt." And we showed up and started duck hunting probably about 20 years ago when we moved to Houston, like for real duck hunting, like not showing up and meeting friends, like, "Hey, we're dedicated. We're buying 25 dozen decoys. We've got mojos." We're completely stupid on the whole thing.
And then, I know your career took a big turn. You were basically in charge of the kitchens in the entire Saltgrass Steakhouse chain. And anybody who knows Texas and has eaten at the Saltgrass Steakhouses, I mean, it's really an experience.
Yeah, that was huge and a huge part of my life that helped me understand, just the scope of kitchens and things. But John, I'd like to talk about how, as a chef, I morphed into cooking and just accepting the cooking of wild game. One day I was sitting there talking to a bunch of chefs of who I respected, and they had no concept of butchery. Like, they couldn't cut up a chicken. They couldn't understand where a sirloin came from, right? Or where a T-bone was running at. And I was just talking to these guys, and I was started to think, like, I can see that in a deer, right? I know how to de-breast a chicken, or, take a chicken apart, because we used to do it with ducks and dove and quail, right? And these are all things and I realized at that point that I was a better chef because I was a hunter, right? So I came into culinary school already knowing things that these guys didn't know, and they still don't know later down the road because they're just not part of it. So, funny story, I'm talking to these guys. I'm like, "Hey, would y'all like to learn how to butcher?" And of course, they're all like, yeah. My sons and I go out, shoot wild hogs one night, gut them, skin them, bring them back into one of my kitchens, and we throw a class with these chefs, and they all were able to butcher for the first time. And it was just so crazy at that point to realize that they had never done that. And it was because hunting that I was better as a chef, or understanding cuts of meat or how flavors go together. You just start thinking about that when you're in the deer blind or the duck blind or whatever that is. So it even got weird for us being able to be a chef. You have all this access to this food knowledge. And I tell you, as crazy as it sounds, but the aging of your ducks is huge for me now. Any species of duck can be eaten, and it changes the flavor. You would say European style, say to leave it out and do all these. I can tell you that as a chef, we take out we deviscerate, take out the guts, and then leave that bird hanging for anywhere from 3 to 9 days. USDA guidelines, I think, is like 9 to 12 days. And then we go from there as a chef. It totally, most people don't have that ability to think about it. It's more of like, I'm going to breast it. I hate to say it, we're going to add bacon to it. We're going to do something like that, and that, as as somebody who deals with food all the time, that just makes me sad. Like, I think we can do better than that for, our 6 teal that we shoot. It hurts my feelings that people are going to make teal poppers. I'm not saying I don't eat them. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying, I guess if you're able to maybe harvest enough or not harvest enough, you should think more about that meat than just that. Not that that's bad, but there's more to it. There's a whole new world of understanding wild game and how it eats better. It's a no-brainer. So I think that should answer a good question about, from a chef standpoint.
Exactly. And folks, we've got a nice DU Nation film coming out shortly where Rick cooks teal confit from the Spread Oaks Kitchens, and I think it's outstanding. It's a simple way to do it that's really on another level.
It really does add something different, and it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of teal. I'm lucky enough to be able to work and live on a place that we get to hunt every day of season. We look at life a little differently out here, and I'm spoiled rotten. I mean, some days you can smell me. I'm so spoiled out here. So I know my thought process isn't normal, but that teal confit video, it really gets into how you can take something so simple and change it to a higher level, because the duck confit is not from around here. It's a French recipe. It's taking and holding things from that fat.
Exactly. And like I say, folks, you can be able to check that out on DU Nation. We did a little teal hunt when we were down there as well. Always great to hunt with you, Rick. It's always a pleasure. We didn't, it was Monday, right? I think it was. And,
Look, I was not going to say anything, but you brought it up. I brought cake. All right, that's all that matters.
And the folks, I'm going to tell you, the cake was spectacular, and it really was. The teal hunt, it's tough. It's tough. People don't realize during the week, in some areas, that without any people out there hunting birds, they don't have to move. So that's what I think we ran into that day. They just they were just sitting tight, which you certainly don't blame them after that opening weekend where they had been hunted pretty hard.
Right. I laugh. My dad, when I was a younger father, used to be like, "Oh, you got to go hunt. You got to go hunt." And you sit there, and I learned hunting with John Gordon on the Monday after teal season. You better put that in your journal. Go to work that day. Just go on and go to work. Don't listen to anybody Your best friend says, "Hey, we got to hunt Monday." Go to work. Go to work.
Yeah, it makes it tough. It's just they were just there. Everybody been out Saturday and Sunday, and that Monday I think everybody was at home they were back at work. That's what it was. So it just kept them from out of the fields and the marshes and everything else, and they weren't flying. But hey, I had a blast. It was great. Let's talk about something that you've really developed at Spread Oaks, Rick, and that's the notion of micro-local cuisine, where everything that you're preparing, it comes right there from the ranch, correct?
Right, yeah. Again, one of the things we're really blessed at the ranch for is to have an open-ended thought process. Our biggest time here is now, when we have all our friends and guests over. So we start growing all of our lettuces, planting lettuces in August. And then we continue to plant all of it's really cool. You start thinking about food, the food I'm going to eat in March, we plant seed in December, January in our greenhouses. Because of the drought this year, we're able to possibly have a bigger garden in the winter this year because we were able to get into it. We didn't have those September rains. That we usually plague us with, all right, we're out of the garden now from a big volume standpoint. So, somebody told me last year that on a ranch this big, to get a lot of work done, you have a drought. And I tell you what, we got a lot of work done because of the drought this year, and the gardens and stuff are overflowing because of it. But there's work involved for sure. That micro cuisine just really comes from a dedication to committing to the land. And when we see things that are growing any time of year, we harvest and then just take back. And we either eat immediately because it's the freshness, or we figure out some way to preserve, just like anybody would have. Some of our thought processes go back, like Meemaw or Mama used to make. Maybe your great-great-grandmother made something, or grandfather made something like that. I think we think about bringing those recipes back because of what the community is in mind. You never really forget those hunts. They're always in your mind. And if we here at Spread Oaks can make food that ties with those hunts, you can never be mad around a dinner table that's serving good food. And I think we start that at the lodge, and then we try and move that out to the duck blinds. Look, I always get ducks to come, right? But I can always think about cooking the right food when you get back. And we can talk about the hunt, or talk about last season's hunts, or the hunts to come. I think that's what the table here at Spread Oaks really brings to the guests. And maybe, hopefully, they take that to other people. It's all about traditions.
Exactly. And on that note, folks, we're going to take a little break and stay with us, and we'll be right back on the Ducks Unlimited podcast.
Stay tuned to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, sponsored by Purina Pro Plan, after these messages.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Ducks Unlimited podcast. My guest today, Chef Rick Rosser from the wonderful Spread Oaks Ranch near Bay City, Texas. And we were just talking about Rick's real development of wild game cooking and the local cuisine idea, where you take everything you've got at your disposal at the ranch and turn it into incredible food on the table.
Right. I'd also like to add, once you become part of a ranch like this, you start meeting friends out there. And there's other like-minded people. They're not a chef, they're just a farmer out there, and they're doing something. So I like to say that we do a lot of stuff here, but it's the community that I know, and whether our farmer that does all of our cotton farming meets a guy that grows lemons, or there's a lady in Needville that raises goats for popsicles that are amazing. And sometimes of the year she has excess goat's milk, and we get to make cheese from that. It's just being able to know people. Again, it goes back to the community. You really got to know and talk to people and find out what they do and who they are. And I don't want to say we capitalize on that, but it's a lifestyle that we can talk, and they say they have extra, and we get to do cool things with because we know them. Exactly.
And something we were talking about when I was there is developing contacts for fresh shrimp out of the Gulf.
Oh, yeah.
That's right there at y'all's fingertips as well.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. My wife, that's the story of the summer this year, is finding the shrimp that sell to blonde-haired ladies that come up with money. That was a huge win at Spread Oaks. She's gung-ho now. You need shrimp? I know where to go. I'm going to go talk to Rodrigo. Yeah, right. I know it sounds silly, but so I've been at the ranch, or I've worked for the ranch for a couple years, but only lived on the ranch for like a year. My wife and I live in Houston. We're from the city. We don't live on a ranch. So big deals for us. We're going to the farmers markets. And here we are now. We roll up to the canals where the guys are unloading the shrimp boats and the cigarettes hanging out of their mouths and the beer cans falling out. And I'll take 5 pounds, and you're elbowing up there from some big guy that might be on probation, but watch out, man. We're up for shrimp here. I want those. That was huge. Big win. And imagine how different it is. It's just so different when you can be there, and this is the only way. It's the visceral effect of watching the shrimp jump, and you're going to get those shrimp. It's like nobody else is getting these. it's probably a foodie's thing, a foodie dream, but that was huge. I'm glad my wife found that for us, and that was a hoot.
Yeah, that's part of the whole Texas coast experience. The proximity to all that wonderful seafood, and you've got fish as well. From great access to flounder, spotted sea trout, redfish. All of it is right there and at your disposal. So it just, as a chef, it's got to be, you're in a cornucopia down there.
It's crazy when guests come in and they're like, hey, we really want to cook these fresh redfish. And you have to tell them, hey, no, man, we want to stay on this cycle here. And it's not that you don't want to cook them because you want to eat it too, because it's fresh redfish. It's right there. And then you cook it, for no reason other than just to gorge yourself on how awesome it is. But being able to pick and choose what you eat and then see it from the beginning until the time it goes on the plate is really an experience that you can't explain. And from the food standpoint, just the flavor. I'm not really good at what I do. I don't think. I'm really good at meeting people that are really good at growing animals. And I just add some salt and pepper. Like, that's all it's a secret. Don't tell anybody, that anybody can do what I do,
Don't listen to that, folks. I mean, he's not really telling you the story there. It's, some of the stuff I've had at Spread Oaks, Rick, that veal that you prepare, man, not sure how to even describe that.
Oh, the ossobuco.
Yeah,
the ossobuco. Our big thing this year, our big win this year is pastrami short ribs. I'm telling you, that is huge. That is amazing.
Folks, something else that's amazing, and I haven't been around anyone who's been this serious about this particular thing than Rick, is meat aging and what it and the flavors and the incredible charcuterie boards that you make, Rick. I can't, once again, it's hard to describe. I mean, where did you really come up with the thought that, man, I'm going to make my boards special?
No joke. Forrest threw a book at me and said, build me a smokehouse. Like that, no joke. That was like, the book was off Amazon, How to Build a Smokehouse. It's like $26.95. Best book ever,
Trial by fire, right?
Don't edit that out. That's a for real story, man. For real story, So yeah, I mean, when I came to Spread Oaks, I had done some bacon and some hams. And you just really, you don't really just do some bacon and some hams. It's still a dedication because you're months into that process. And then Forrest and I were talking about it, and he was serious. He was like, "Hey, I want a smokehouse." And I was looking online. I was like, "Oh, these little bitty ones are fine." He's like, "No, I want a smokehouse." And I now have a 15 by 15 by 20 foot gabled 13th century smokehouse from a book that I bought off Amazon for $26.95.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention, right? It's you're
right.
tasked with we need a smokehouse for real, and so that's it. I'm no half stepper. So if you ask me to do something, I'm all in. The smokehouse. Because we were really talking about just old school recipes. And that smokehouse represents Italy. It represents Kentucky. It's just a thought process. And then whatever recipe we decide to do, with our charcuterie, it's all a long-term thought process. Most of our stuff is 9 months to, we're just eating ham from 3 years ago. Like when pre-COVID, that's what we joke, we're eating pre-COVID hams now around here. That's pretty incredible. And the level of commitment to that is and the patience it takes to wait 3 years, for a piece of meat to be right, to me is just fascinating. I just never even thought about it before.
I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell you another story real quick. So when I started doing charcuterie at this level, like we're buying 24 pigs, butchering them ourselves and turning them into charcuterie. Right, that's a huge commitment. That's 48 legs of prosciutto. If you think about it like that, that's 48 pork bellies for bacon. You got to have storage space. That's like shooting 4 elk. Or 3 Canadian geese. Either way, But they're just big fat hogs. So I buy all these specialty pigs from a super awesome pig farmer, and then the world shuts down at COVID. And I had butchered these hogs and put them into a curing process. which is just a salt, a basic salt curing process for prosciutto or Kentucky hams, right? But they still, you have to play with them or touch them every couple days, and for sure in 3 weeks. But the world was shutting down because of COVID. So I had to ask my wife if we could leave our house in Katy and move to the ranch so I could babysit all these charcuterie items that I had processed, so I wouldn't lose not only all that money, but all that product and all that good pig. But that's how, I know it sounds crazy, that might have been how the passion started for charcuterie, because COVID hit and it was right there in front of us. I had to do it because, it's a living organism at that point when you start messing with meats like that are, weighing or losing fat content and just the water loss on it. It's not something you can walk away from. Like you said, it's a big commitment.
Yeah, it is. But the product is outstanding.
Yeah.
It just, like I said, yours are like none I've ever had. That prosciutto, man, it's just like razor thin. The flavor, it just explodes in your mouth. It's incredible.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I never thought I get asked a lot about our charcuterie and how I got here, and I have no idea. Maybe I tripped, fell along the way. I'm not real sure, but I'll say it again. It all goes back to the recipe is what it is. But again, you go back to knowing the people that raise or are just passionate about what they do. I don't think you can ever go wrong.
That's right. Let's shift gears once again for a minute, because this has become a huge part of your life, and I can't imagine that you would have saw this path, even like 10 years ago at all, that now that you are so involved in wetlands and waterfowl habitat and that development and creating a special place that's a home to ducks and geese. So tell us a bit about how you've really embraced that process, Rick.
It's a great question, by the way. Again, being somebody, I don't want to say that I'm of the land. That makes me sound pioneerish, maybe. But once you realize, let's talk food plots or whatever we plant for any of our animals outside, right? Whether you're planting late season radishes for deer or turnips, or you have duck potatoes, all that stuff kind of rotates as edible for us at certain times too. And I know it sounds weird, but you want to eat a good turnip? Go into your food plot at the end of the year before your deer eat it and pull. We joke, we plant black-eyed peas down here because they grow like wildfire certain times of year for us, and they're a great source of protein. But if I go out and pick black-eyed peas before the deer come, then I can put up black-eyed peas and my food plots for my deer still grow, because I'm nothing compared to a deer when I pick 3 5-gallon buckets of black-eyed peas. So it's just, once you start doing that, and look, I'm not to the point to where I'm going to go in November and get invertebrate and the snails from the duck to saute to put with pasta yet. You're in no danger of eating something weird like that at Spread Oaks. The thought process that that food out there and what the ducks eat or what the deer eat is really sometimes what we eat too. If you plant enough of it, we all win.
Right.
Man, I'm not going to lie to you. That was a sound bite. That's a sound bite. You
right.
edit me saying that now, but period, mic drop. Call me when you want me to sign an autograph. There you go.
That's great. Put that on a T-shirt.
Right? Hey, did I show you because of all our big talatry, the Johnny Cash picture? Spread Oaks, we really don't care for tallow trees that much. We've had 2.5 years, I think, of Rob. You're doing an amazing job of the tallow tree, just desecration out here coming through and killing them. And then this year we've pushed them all down and combined them so we can burn pile them. But a big picture of Johnny Cash while he's in Folsom Prison with his finger sticking out, and it says, basically it says F tallow trees, Spread Oaks Ranch. And it's one of our badass T-shirts this year.
I got
$30 on eBay if you like.
That's
it's badass, dude.
But the area you were talking about is that Jennings Lake area, and that's what it. How old is that? It's an historic place in Texas wetlands history that I can.
I'm gonna lie to you, and then somebody can call me out on it. But here's how I know it. And again, I'm I'm not really good at remembering because sometimes I don't pay attention. It's been quoted. I don't pay attention, but I know that lake has been there since before Texas was Texas. So that body of water has ebbed and flowed, but has always been someplace that ducks have imprinted on. And I didn't really understand that until this year or the end of last year when we started letting water out. And then Jenny's Lake, I mean, again, I know it also. If you jump into like the 50s, I think the residents of Bay City used to come out here and use it to fish out of, because we have like chimneys from fish camps out here, which make a great place to have a party. But this year we got in, all the tallow trees again had been killed with the chemical, and then we came in this year and bulldozed over 30 acres that we gained back of lake land up into where the oak trees are the main front. So just think about it. I mean, we really gained probably anywhere from 26 to 35 acres of new shorefront for the ducks this year, just in that one body of water.
Man, that's outstanding.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And again, huge Rob Sawyer made all that happen, right? We're just stewards of picking up after what he's let us do. It's been, and then, you have to give a big shout out to Forrest Wiley for the whole project. Appreciate the checkbook, That's no small thing either, but
that's it.
Those two combined.
Can't be overstated what a guy like Forrest Wiley means to wetlands and waterfowl conservation and wildlife conservation in general. It's because it's guys like him who put the dollars behind everything that happens at a place like Spread Oaks. And, we're glad as an organization in Ducks Unlimited to help, and we have helped quite a bit on that property. But it takes somebody like him to really have that commitment to really see this through and make it all happen.
Yeah, it's the commitment to just doing the right thing at all cost. At really the answer is at all costs. What's the right thing to do?
Right.
So I know Forrest believes in everything, and we believe in Forrest. So I think it's a great relationship.
Yeah, agreed. Anything special on the menu this year, Rick? Anything new you got coming up?
So this year, the start of big season, since we're through teal, we knocked off the dust in teal, 16-day run. Big duck season is going to be, again, we were just talking about our pastrami short ribs, curing those 12 to 14 days. We made cedar planks to serve off of, which will be new. I haven't made cedar plates in quite a long time. We just heat up that cedar, gives that smell. We're working on organic sauerkraut to go over the pastrami short ribs because, nothing says I'm a big fat, like a 16 to 20 ounce, bone-in short rib. We're going to put some sauerkraut on top of that. And then the other is the duck confit here. We really are going to try and, I think this is my statement for the year. At the end of this duck season, it's going to be a great duck season no matter what happens, right? But I have to find a cardiologist because at the end of this duck season, I'm going to need a doctor. With all the duck confit and pastrami short rib, there's no amount of salad that's going to help me this year. Like usually I really try and stay healthy. I drink a lot of water. I do what I can, but this year there's no way I'm making it out. No way. Serious concern of heart attack this year at the end of it.
Need some stents.
Yeah, man. Put some shunts in, just make an appointment. February, right after snipe season, I'm in, dog. Like I'm going to need to go in. So yeah, the short ribs are going to be huge. Duck confit. And again, our desserts, the salads are going to be fun this year. We grow all our own lettuce mixes. So we found some kale varieties that we really like. And we're going to go back to, we're always going to have our Caesar salad that we make, but because of the speck that goes on it, but we really are looking for another, like a kale vinegar salad. And I think we found a good mix this year, as long as the weather holds. And, we don't have too many freezes down here. Let it freeze up north in Canada, and don't shortstop me in the plains either. Just come on to Texas,
That's right. That's right. The big ducks are there already. I mean, we saw, pintails, shovelers. There's already some ducks around for sure down there, and it's dry. I know that, but I keep hearing it's going to be a wet winter. I haven't seen any evidence of it yet, though.
Looking at the Farmer's Almanac last night, and it says mild and wet and cold up in the middle of the United States. So, again, I hope y'all freeze up there. I'll hold all the ducks down here for you. We got passion for the habitat. Praise DU. Come on down to Texas and let's shoot some birds. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, brother. I know what you're saying. It's, but yeah, this is Memphis, though, Rick. We're not exactly in North Dakota here.
Hey, look, man, it's all fair until the duck season starts. I'm looking for ducks, boss. I need ducks. I got the itch.
That's right. And y'all, hey, look, think about it. I mean, it's late September. Y'all will be open within what, 5 weeks, 6 weeks tops?
Yeah. I mean, we're at this point we're opening up. It was teal season. We've shut off water so we can roller chop and open up big areas for the big ducks. It'll be here in. I mean, if you really think about it, from our standpoint, it'll be here in 3 weeks because we've got to start roller chopping, adding more water because we're a drought this year. Everybody's jumped their timetable up on watering and filling ponds. So, and to have that commitment to the habitat, it's really about water and getting that water on quick so you can get the growth for that habitat. So
that's huge. It's because y'all's impoundments are more soil units, and we've as a organization, Ducks Unlimited has had great success with more soil development, and we've helped y'all down there with that stuff, and I think it's really it's kind of an art form to create a great moist soil unit.
Natural,
like there's just so many things going into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that natural grass that's in there. It's crazy to think that this year, I wrap my head around it. It's crazy to think that dirt already has a seed that you need in it. You just have to bring it out.
Right. There's so many seeds in that soil.
Yeah, and I mean, you're constantly fighting, whatever invasive, Cispania or want the naiad to grow. So you start growing deeper water, which pushes water deep, shallower in your areas that you get your jungle rice in. It's really cool to think that we kind of boutique-y. We're boutique or bougie about maybe how we grow our food here because we grow it we're not a big, we don't turn this over to rice farming. It's not like our water or big, 100-acre impoundments. We're dealing with 100 to 500-acre impoundments that we're growing water or growing habitat in. So we're controlling that water on a smaller scale, but it's still getting that habitat to grow. So, ducks are like an athlete. They eat one thing in November and they eat something completely different in December. And in January, right before they go back, they're looking for those carbs, just like a big Olympic athlete. They got to fly back up there.
And, in our lifetime, I've watched the Texas coast really changed quite a bit to where these ducks are so dependent on those moist soil units because the rice base is gone.
Yeah.
Everything else is now cotton or grain. It's just dirt. And
yes.
Without those moist soil developments, there would not be any wintering birds in Texas.
Yeah, I know that I'm not old in duck hunting like you guys, right? Like I'm not Methuselah, so to speak, but
Thanks, Rick.
You're welcome. You're old. I'm not. Whatever you want to take that as. You got good looking hair. Mine's gray. That's what I can tell you. But I grew up 20 years ago with my kids in the Katy Prairie, like legit Garwood. For those people that hunt Texas, the Walmart distribution center out of there. That's what I thought duck hunting was 20 years ago. And to see that now, the geese gone from that area just blows my mind. Like, we used to shoot geese there and we were dumb. I look back now and go, I don't know how we shot ducks. We were so stupid. We should have done this and that, golly. But just growing up on that, I say growing, 20 years ago, the Katy Prairie was so much more different than it is 15 years later even. So then the coast,
it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't imagine. I talk to a lot of the old timers, older than you, respectfully, John being, somebody of your age,
like Rob's age,
right? Oh, easy there, easy. Now you talk to those guys, and I'm pretty I'm a visual person, so when they're describing this to me, I can't imagine that they're like, yeah, I mean, you should see all these teal in September. No way. I can't imagine that. But sure enough, there it is. And, you're not going to call Bubba a liar because he's no liar. It's crazy to think that just within the last 15 to 20 years, the change of the migration or what's coming here because of the loss of rice. And if I hate to say, and I don't know if if drought continues, what they do on water restrictions for places like us and rice farmers.
Right. I know that the Lower Colorado River Authority has a really big job on their hands because they've had very little water to work with, and they're trying to really make everybody happy in that area, but they just can't afford to be how you say? I mean, just they can't afford to be reckless with the water.
Yeah,
right? They've really got to watch what's going on, and it's changed the landscape down there in a big way. And it just all goes back to it's been a lack of rainfall now for years.
Yeah, I had no idea they were counting last year as a drought as well. I just heard that the other day. We've been in like a 2-year drought, and I mean that's a crazy thought process. That's just crazy thought, I guess. Just that, I am not. Sorry for the pause. I'm not envious of decisions that they have to make, but I am very concerned from a business owner and possibly somebody who knows the farmers that do those things as to how you're going to help us, help you, help them. Power to the people. The revolution will not be televised. There you go.
Power to the people, Rick. That's it, brother. That's it. Well, man, this has been fantastic. And, folks, I'd encourage you, if you don't know anything about Spread Oaks Ranch, go to spreadoaksranch.com. Check it out. What an incredible place. The Forrest Wiley has done with that property is truly outstanding from a wetlands and waterfowl standpoint, from just a pure great place to go standpoint. It's really incredible.
It's really it's an amazing place, man. It's so amazing what we get to do and just doing the right thing out here.
Exactly. Well, Rick, thanks so much for being on the DU podcast. I will see you again in December. I'll be back down there.
Can't wait.
So it won't be too long.
Come on, John.
I'm coming in hot, brother. Anyway, folks, thanks for listening to the Ducks Unlimited podcast and for supporting wetlands and waterfowl conservation.
Thank you for listening to the DU Podcast, sponsored by Purina Pro Plan, the official performance dog food of Ducks Unlimited. Purina Pro Plan, always advancing. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit ducks.org/DU Podcast. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.